Hello, this is Step School. Today I want to show how to manufacture the simple yet pretty cool PCB. You can insert to the phone or USB charger to get really strong light. By the end of this video, you will be able to make your own professional looking circuit board. When working on embedded system projects, it becomes difficult to use wires. As we add more components, cluttered wires, weakly connected pins that can dislodge themselves create nothing but a headache. And the solution is of course using printed circuit boards where we have very reliable connections. Eventually, I will make a series of videos explaining designing, manufacturing, and soldering PCBs. So let's start with soldering. I used to use a hot gun and soldering iron for soldering, but one of my friends recommended a hot plate. And it is very neat and clean when using the hot plate. After some practice, we can solder even very small SMD components quickly with minimum effort. We will need a hot plate, a PCB itself, a stencil, a fine tweezer, solder paste, and components. I will show later how to order this PCB and the stencil. After collecting all these pieces of equipment and tools, we need to apply the solder paste to the PCB using the stencil. We put the stencil on top of the PCB and perfectly align them. We can use clampers or tape to fix them. Then, using some plastic card, we will ensure that the solder paste covers all pads. We have to be patient and meticulous to make sure that every pad has just enough solder paste. The next step is to mount all the components. Finally, we turn on the hot plate and set the temperature. So I set to 235, which is recommended by the manufacturer of the solder paste. So it will take 3-4 minutes to reach this temperature. Finally, the soldering is done. We can turn off the hot plate, but it is still really hot and on your fingers. And also we wait 5-10 minutes until the solder is set, and it is highly recommended to do this process in a good ventilated room. And since I don't have it, I'm just doing it in front of my window outside of my apartment. Finally, we can check the PCB. So I take the PCB and I insert it to my phone, and as you see, it is fully functional. And we can also insert it to the USB charger with Type C connector, and it also works pretty well. And just a quick note, when mounting the components, you have to mount them in the right orientation. And if you look at the PCB, on the PCB we have small dots indicating the first pin of the components, and on the component itself we have small dots, and by just aligning these two signs we can mount the components in the right orientation. And when it comes to LEDs, one of the pins of the LED is greater than the other one. So using that information, we can also insert the LEDs in the right orientation. But when it comes to passive components like resistor, capacitors, it doesn't matter. For ordering the PCB and the stencil, I use GLC PCB. In the description below, you will find a link to download a zip file. So what you need to do is just to upload that zip file that consists of all Gerber files. So we just upload it just over here, and you will get instant quote. And for material, I use aluminum because this material conducts heat very well. And since we have LED drivers that heat up, it is recommended to use aluminum. And also we can order stencil as well, and you can enter your custom dimensions because the default dimension is pretty big. And that's it. For relatively low price, you can get really high quality PCB. For designing the PCB, I use Eagle because it's free software. So we have 2 LED drivers, and for each driver we have 4 LEDs, and also we have a resistor to set current that flows through the LEDs, and also we have a USB connector and additional component to prevent short circuiting. So if the current exceeds a certain amperage, it will just turn off the PCB. And here we have additional resistor to set that maximum current. So here we have the PCB itself. And if you need Eagle files, you can find it on my Patreon page, where I have the source code of other very interesting projects. And in the description, you will find a link for my Patreon page. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment, and please subscribe and press the like button. I'll see you soon.